The Thai economy is facing uncertainties and challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic has speeded up digital transformation in all aspects. To be resilient and to move forward to the post-pandemic, we need synergy and collaboration in our country, ASEAN, and beyond. To be competitive, we need initiatives, innovation, human capital, and a new economic, social, and environmental landscape. Thailand's strengths and competitive edge are numerous. There are more to be enhanced while collaborating with other countries. We also have to be competitive. Some ASEAN countries have competitiveness in some areas. We have our own competitiveness that can be enhanced. Today is the world of the new generation. However, just as important is the aging society with the growing concern. We have to manufacture products to serve all these needs, both domestically and internationally. The market opportunities are plentiful. Notably, one of the key solutions to all these is the knowledge enhancement, together with research and development, or R&D. We need to invest in knowledge insights and R&D towards sustainability. The Institute of Business Economics Research and Development, or IBERD, set up as an independent organization with a non-profit purpose, aims at being the center of knowledge, insights, thoughts, practical ideas, and innovation. All these valuable ideas gained from the eminent persons with high experiences can be turned into competitive advantage, business models, investment opportunities, and others, which are instrumental to SME, startup, large enterprises, up to the national level for sustainable growth. The mission of IBERD is to conduct policy research on trade and economic development, organize conferences and seminars both offline and online, provide business advisory services, and foster capacity building for business enterprises, SME, and startup. IBERD has continuously focused on empowering the businesses, forging alliance with business partners, and the matters that can have exponential effects to the market, the community, the public, and the country as a whole, leading towards state-of-the-art technology, competitiveness, sustainable economic growth, as well as the well-being of the people in the well-balanced ecosystem, both locally and globally.
Would it be wonderful if we could integrate leading innovation along with the learning in the business world? From an old square classroom to one with no borders. Get ready for a digital transformational era when successful decisions and marketing strategies require a big data to fully become a successful marketer in online business world. Leave behind all the old principles to becoming a digital economy, to become valuable e-commerce providers with infinite imagination. With new innovation, there is no such thing as impossible, only possible. Dare to try, dare to do, and be open-minded to new things. Learning and adapting. Comprehend more to achieve more. Because a digital world is a world that data is unified. The thought of a large world will then shrink to the size of your palm. Open up to new perspectives, make your business unbeatable and leave others in the dust. Ignite your creativity. Erase the impossibility. Move towards the digital era with the confidence, because for us, nothing is impossible. And we can make every possibility happen with the learning in digital era. Move forward together with us at SIBA, College of Innovative Business and Accountancy, Turakit Bandit University, Startup University.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third CLMVT Economics and Business Webinar Forum on Special Capacity Strengthening, with a particular focus on advancing CLMVT in the digital era. My name is Liam Redhead. I'll be the moderator of today's forum. This forum has been organized by the Institute of Business Economics Research and Development, also known as IBIRD, in cooperation with Device Business University of Myanmar and Durakit Pandit University of Thailand. Before starting today's webinar, I would like to give an outline of the program for the audience. The program will commence with welcome remarks by Mr. Din Zan Jo, Chairman of DBU, followed by a keynote address by Mr. Adun Choti Nisakon, Vice Chairman of IBIRD. Following this, Professor Dr. Ong Tun Tet, Senior Fellow of IBIRD, will begin session 1 of his presentation. During a short break midway through the presentation, an introduction of the co-host organizations will be made. After which session 2 of the presentation will resume before moving on to a question and answer session. Those wishing to ask questions or to make comments can do so by typing in the chat window. This will allow us to put forward any questions or comments you have regarding the presentation to Professor Tate. To get things underway, I would like to invite Mr. Din Zan Jo, Chairman of DBU, to give the welcome remarks. Please welcome Mr. Din Zan Jo. Are you there, Mr. Din Zan Jo? Okay, so Mr. Din Zan Jo is having some trouble logging in at the moment. So we can move, I think what we can do is to move on to the to the keynote address by Mr. Adun Choti Nisakon, the Vice Chairman of iBird. So please welcome Mr. Adun Choti Nisakon to give his keynote address.
สวัสดีครับ Mr. Tin Sung Jaw, Chairman of Device Business University, Professor Dr. Ong Thun Tet, Senior Fellow of iBird, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to be here today to deliver some notes to all of you who come from CRMVT country to share views on CRMVT's opportunities arising from digital trade. I would like to express my sincere thanks to the co-organizer and sponsor of this forum for collaborating closely to organize today's event. There is particular reason for me to consider this forum very important in the CRMVT region. The holding of this forum is timely. It takes place at a time when the development of digital economy is spread at the front and center of ASEAN, including CRMVT country. ASEAN is viewed as a key global economy at present time, but it has not yet been a key digital economy. The digital economy is a key factor driving the growth of the region's economy. It has the power to significantly add economic growth and development in Southeast Asia. The digital economy is defined as all economic activities mediated by software and enabled by telecom infrastructure, which I used to call infrastructure before. It is expected that by year 2025, the digital integration in ASEAN will allow individuals and businesses to connect to broader ASEAN economy beyond their borders. At this time, there are numerous areas that need to be reviewed if ASEAN, particularly CRMVT country, is to maximize the potential benefits that can be harnessed from the digital economy. Putting in place the right digital ecosystem like broadband, network, and data system to encourage established businesses and startups to develop digital platforms in order to enable them to reach new markets and consumers, exchange and interrogate effectively big data. Moreover, to make and receive payments speedily and in a low-cost manner, and then meet the requirements of increasingly demanding end consumer is of vital importance. Furthermore, it requires the right policies and regulation to be developed, which will encourage the exchange of data and the movement of goods and services that are provided via digital platform. Additionally, it is essential that the right skill sets are developed in the CRMVT population to support the further development of the digital economy. This will involve governments in the region adapting existing education programs to improve and encourage the teaching of ICT-related skills. During the time, more is done regionally to boost the digital economy. Many of the CRMVT countries seem to embrace digital technology. The growth of digital technology has been starting to shape the economy of CRMVT country. In this way, the business practices within CRMVT are being widely transformed by digital platform and technology that connect consumers, businesses, supplies, and payment networks. The digital economy provides businesses with almost unlimited opportunity to disrupt and grow It is time for business community to reposition itself as an influential driving force for change and reap benefits from the digitalization in CLMVT. Digitalization requires business companies to make significant changes to their business processes. It is also necessary to improve the understanding of digital technology and open up the opportunity of this technology. This is a key to the digitalization of businesses in this region. On the whole, digitalization has made benefits for businesses. It facilitates expansion of their businesses as it enables them to reach out to more consumers and vendors. It also improves or optimizes operation, which translates to reduced costs due to improvement of productivity. In addition, the digitalization has reduced the cost of engaging in international trade, facilitated the coordination of global value chain, helped diffuse ideas and technologies, and connect a greater number of businesses and consumers globally. The adoption of new business models has given rise to more complex international trade, transaction, and policy issues. This can be clearly seen when the ecosystem of National Digital Trade Platform, or DITP, has been initiated by the Thai private sector to connect with the local stakeholders who are involved with digital trade. These stakeholders include banks, insurance company, ship liner, freight forwarders, and custom brokers. This connection can be benefit the business transaction between importer and exporter in the form of business to business or B2B and e-commerce platform. In the meantime, the NDTP or National Digital Trade Platform can link to the Global Trade Connectivity Network or GTCN, which is related to Singapore, Hong Kong, and Japan. This NDTP run in parallel with the operation of ASEAN Single Window, which has been agreed upon by ASEAN member states. In this way, the digital trade in this manner encompasses digitally enabled transaction of trade on goods and services that can either be digitally or physically delivered, and that involve consumer, company, and government. It is also changing how we trade goods. The use of digital solution for trade facilitation would help goods move faster across border. At the same time, new technology and business models are changing how services are produced and supplied. Rapid technological development also facilitates the rise of services in international cross-border trade. New technology have also facilitated the rise of digitally enabled services that are supported by a range of new services building on data-driven innovation solutions. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the business community within the CLMVT country will continue to embrace digital transformation and digital trade in various forms. CLMVT businessmen have remained committed to bring new products and services to a large number of digitally connected customers across the globe. It also enables businesses to use new and innovative digital tools to overcome barriers to growth. At the same time, CLMVT businessmen can help identify and respond to emerging challenges arising from digitalization. If CLMVT is to reap the full benefit from the rise of digital technology, this country must see as a opportunity to adapt, evolve, reform, and innovate. I'm confident that CLMVT country can make use of the digital technology and move closer to the overarching vision of a more integrated, prosperous, and competitive CLMVT for the benefits of all. Hence, CLMVT country can be a promising markets and can be growing their businesses in the region in the year to come. Finally, I wish this forum success and achieve its deliberation. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณมากครับ
Thank you very much, Mr. Adun Choti Nisakon, for your keynote address. Now, I believe Mr. Din Zanjo has been able to join the webinar. So with that being said, I would like to invite Mr. Din Zanjo, Chairman of DBU, to give the welcome remarks. Please welcome Mr. Din Zanjo.
Yes, Sawasdee krab. Alo Mingalaba. Honorable speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to all of the participants to the third CLMVT Economics and Business Webinar Forums on the special capacity strengthening. I would like to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the Vice Business University. We are delighted to co-host this event with Institute of Business Economics, Research and Development, IBOT, and Durrani Pandit University, DPU of Thailand. I wish to sincerely thank the supporting team of the IBOT and the DPU for the good arrangement of the forums. We are honored to have the presence of the Vice Chairman of the IBOT, Mr. Adul Chutinisakon, who will deliver the keynote address, and Senior Fellows, Professor Dr. Ontontet, who will be the honorable speakers. This CLMV webinar forum takes place for the third time after the initiative of the forum was made. Last month, our Vice Business University hand joins with IBOT and DPU of the Thailand to hold a series of the CLMVT Economics and Webinar Forums on special capacity strengthening with particular focus on marketing 5.0. They were attended by around 360 participants from the CLMVT countries, spanning the government, private academic, and the public general. The third CLMVT webinar forums will offer an opportunity to learn about the opportunities and challenges of the CLMVT in the digital economy. Participants will hear experiences from Professor Dr. Ontontet, who is involved with the business cycle and the economics perspectives. At this gathering, we hope that today's topic will ensure the learning opportunity for CLMVT countries to integrate into the digital economy and embrace the digital transformation for the business and daily lives. Once again, let me welcome you all to this forum and offer my best wishes for a fruitful deliberation and successful forums. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Din Zanjo, for your welcome remarks. So before starting session 1 of the special lecture on building resilient corporations in the digital world, it is now my great pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Ontontet, Senior Fellow at the Institute of Business Economics Research and Development, who will be the honorable speaker today. Professor Dr. Ontontet's distinguished career has included serving as the former president's economic advisor, an advisor at the Union of Myanmar Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, honorary professor at the University of British Columbia in Canada, and professor emeritus at Yangon University in Myanmar. Additionally, Dr. Tet is a chairman of the UN Global Compact Network in Myanmar. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Dr. Ong Tun Tet to give the special lecture on building resilient corporations in the digital world.
Good morning, Mingalawa, Swadika. I would like to first thank the Vice Chairman, Mr. Chotinisakon, for his opening remarks. The keynote address was very helpful to set the context of my presentation. I would also like to acknowledge Utin Zancho, Chairman of Device Business University. Also, Dr. Siridesh from DPU and Konati from iBird. As all of us know, this is the third of the webinars that has been jointly organized by iBird, DPU, and DBU. As the Vice Chairman rightly pointed out, CLMBT countries are in the midst of digital transformation. So in this webinar, I have the privilege, I have the honor to make a presentation on resilient corporations in the digital world. So let me first share with my slides. The topic that I've chosen, which I think would complement what the Vice Chair has alluded to, he has pointed out the need for digital transformation in CLMBT countries. In that context, the title that I've chosen is, how do we build resilient corporations? Companies, businesses must be resilient in order to survive and also thrive in the digital world. So with this topic in mind, with this focus in mind, I hope I can share with you in two parts. As the moderator has kindly mentioned, in part one, I'll be dealing with issues. Issue of digital world and the issue of digital resilience. This would then lead to a short intermission, a short break for you to rest. And in the second and final part, I will be addressing three issues. How do we build resilient corporations? How do we establish resilience model? And finally, how do we, all of us in the CLMBT countries, have what is now called resilient mindset? This will be followed by a question and answer session moderated by Mr. Liam. So we have two sessions, part one and part two. So let me begin with part one before we go into a break. As I mentioned earlier, part one would involve a shared and common understanding of what a digital world really means. And then, based on the reality of a digital world, as the Vice Chair has pointed out, how do we establish what is now called digital resilience? So these will be the two areas that I will be covering. The first part will be the digital world. All of us know that we are living in a digital world. So to remind all of us, let us never forget we live in a digital world. We cannot ignore the fact that all of us, especially in the CLMBT countries, are living in the digital world. But then let me also remind us, being human in the digital world is about building a digital world for humans. I like this quotation by Andrew very much, because we often, when we talk about digitalization or digital transformation, human element. So what we have to ensure is that the digital world must benefit human beings. It is not the machines taking over, but to ensure that the human needs, the human aspirations are met within the digital world. In this context, the digital world is the dominance of ICT. All of us know that the human world is driven now and transformed by technology, as the Vice Chairman pointed out. But this also means we have new qualities. The quality of life has changed significantly. And then what we have now is a virtual environment, which is developed by the internet and the digital devices. The digital world also means that we can connect from any place around the world through technology. We can have access today on all types of information and computerized communication. And therefore, we need to recognize that every field of human life is now digitalized. We cannot forget, and we must recognize the technological developments that have supported this. So the digital world, new technologies, where 5 or 10 years ago, we did not have this. We have social media, GPS system, artificial intelligence, we have digital twins. But please remind ourselves that the digital world also means disruption. We have disruptive technologies. They are changing the way how we live. So this also meant that in the digital world, we don't have to be a digital native to behave like one. Many of the middle-aged people are using social media profiles. They are using Fitbits, sensors. Even the seniors are using tablets. They are no longer reading newspapers. Many of us are spending more and more time connected. The statistics shows that the average US citizen spends more time looking at the internet and the screen than sleeping. We are advised to sleep at least 8 hours, which means that people are spending more than 8 hours on the internet in front of their screens. And therefore, as the Vice Chairman pointed out, we now have new business models. We need to create new values through digital means. We now have cross-sector outcome-based. But then the beauty of digital world is we are now able to provide tailored and on-demand products, and it is no longer made. It is custom-made, it is tailor-made. The digital world also means for the startups and the digital giants, they are moving quite fast. They are taking advantage of the opportunities. They have the confidence, they have the know-how, they have the ambition to reshape the entire industry. This is very good for the startup, for the entrepreneurs, for the digital giants. But this also means that all of us must be prepared for digital disruption. What in most companies is they are investing in trying to improve processes. They are under-investing in what they should be doing tomorrow. So let us the future, nor the past. Then becomes how do there is not enough to improve customer experience. We have to reshape the entire value chain. We have to be comfortable adopting digital technologies. And therefore, I would like to suggest that corporations in the CLMV countries adopt 3 approaches in the digital world. Approach would be, we have to look at the digital first blueprint. You have to change our mindset to be a digital mindset. We have to disrupt existing markets. We have to create new ones. We have to forget about the past and break through. And then we have to seize opportunities for the future. Then also means we have to look at customer again. As I mentioned in the Marketing 5.0, the focus of any business must always be customer. We must know that the efforts that the customer made, the friction of the customer can be used. And in that context, we should use the data. Every company in Thailand, I think, is familiar to big data analysis. We need to be able to anticipate and respond to the needs. And therefore, of course, as a vice chairman also mentioned, we need to address the digital talent challenges. We cannot look at the traditional models. We have new models to work, which means we have to upskill, reskill. We have to bring them differently so that they be equipped to deal with the new age. This would be important. And the third approach is we must experiment. We must try. We must think big, but we start small. We must look at the out of the possible. We have to change. We have to do quickly. We cannot wait until everyone is settled. So the question is, we have to train our staff to experiment with the work. And therefore, it means people need to be innovative. People need to be empowered. They need to do multiple experiments. And they must have a sense of momentum and excitement. With this, I would like to suggest that businesses in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar, we must transform for today. We must seize the opportunities the digital world is offering. It is not just buying a new software. It is not just buying a new system. We must look into the total transformation of the corporation itself, and which I'll be dealing in the later part. We must reinvent. We must look at how can digital technology create value, and we must be ready, as the vice chair mentioned, we must be having a digital enabled business model to be ready to transform for tomorrow. This is the challenge that corporations face. I will now turn to the second part of my presentation, which is digital reliance. Based on the digital world, we now have to address, we now have to promote, we now have to encourage digital reliance in our corporations, because digitalization means disruption. Digital transformation means changing the status quo. In this context, how can we be resilient in the midst of disruption? So please bear in mind the word disruption. It is very similar to COVID-19, because COVID-19 is a disruptive phenomenon. The same thing with digitalization, the same thing with digital transformation. Now, for my Myanmar participants, all of us are familiar, but for the Thai participants, let me introduce, when we say resilience, in the Myanmar language, we talk about Piet Dai Dao. This is a Myanmar traditional toy, which is the young children are very fond of. But Piet Dai Dao means that which always rights itself when thrown down. You can throw the doll, but it will always come back. That is what we mean by resilience. It will never fall down. Even you throw it hard, it will always come up. And this is why I would like to encourage the corporations in CLMV countries to use Pit Dying Down as their mascot. And therefore, in this context, let me share with you the quotation by the famous leader, Nelson Mandela. Let us remind ourselves of what he said. Do not judge me by my success. Judge me by how times I fell down and got again. That is resilience. It is not important to fall down. We will fail. We will make mistakes in our lives, in our businesses. But it is important to come up again. So the question is, how do we fail, but then got back again? This is what resilience means. And therefore, what we notice, the MIT University, they looked at 90% of the CEOs believe that the digital economy will impact the industry. But less than 15% are executing a digital strategy. So to support what the vice chair of IBERT mentioned, let all the businesses in the CLMV country start developing a digital strategy because this in the countries, in the CLMV countries, because we are embarking on the digital economy. The question is, I like this picture. We need business resilience, which is able to adapt to disruptions. We have disruptions all over everywhere. We need to maintain business operations. We need to protect our people, our employers, our workers. We need to protect our assets, and we need to protect our brand equity. But please do not forget, we have to also look into the human element. It is very easy to look at computers. It is very easy to look at systems, and very easy to forget the human element in the business resilience. So I would like to share with you that being resilient is not just a single skill. It is a collection of skills, and we have to cope. We have to rebound from setbacks and failures, and we should always focus on the positive. The participants from Myanmar will always remember that I keep always giving a positive message. Let us always emphasize the positive element. And therefore, digital resilience means that the digital technologies that we have adopted in the companies, the business models, have a huge impact on the product and services. Every business in the CLMV countries are dependent on digital technology. Even the street vendors are depending on the digital. They use smartphones for ordering things. So the question is, everyone is dependent on the digital technology. We have digital processes, but at the same time, with progress, we also have risks. We also have risks with the digital technology that we are using. There could be blackouts, there'll be destructions, there'll be cybersecurity issues. So we need to be conscious of the risks that are involved. We now know that the cost of disruptions are spiraling out of control. We need to look at business continuity. In Myanmar, we are looking at BCP, business continuity plans, which I'm sure it is done in the other CLMV countries. The question is, many companies are now transforming into the digital world. The question now is, how do we prepare? This is what the vice chairman reminded us. How do we respond and how do we recover from the disruptions of the digital environment? And here, let me emphasize, we must shift our mindset from business continuity to business resilience. So the question is, we're not resilience. How do we establish business resilience? And in this context, let me make sure that all of us strengthen our ability. We must build resilience, and building resilience should be the prime focus. Therefore, let me encourage the businesses to be preparing and to respond. We must mitigate and reduce the risk, because if you have a digital platform, even in Myanmar, we now have digital platforms which are vulnerable to disruption, and we have to be prepared and we have to reduce our risk. Digital resilience is an evolving approach. We must look at the strategic elements. We must have dynamic leadership. We must look at the way we treat our employees, people practices. But we must be conscious of the digital landscape. We must anticipate, we must rapidly respond in the digital landscape. And therefore, there is a gap, which I want to point out, between managing risks and threats. We tend to forget. We only look at the positive side, which is important, but also not forget that if there are digital disruptions, it can harm your business very well. And therefore, what we need is innovation. We need competition in this digital world. This is how we need to develop digital resilience. We need to be competitive. We need to be secure in our operations. We need to make sure that our processes are effective and efficient. We also need to manage the risk that comes out of disruption. And therefore, let us focus on the defense. Let us make sure that we detect disruptions. We must look at the remedies, recovery. We must look at the diagnosis. And then we have to refine our service disruptions in the digital world, very costly. How do we minimize this would be very, very important. I would like to encourage the business community in our countries, CLMVT countries, to take strategic actions. We must protect. The disruption is inevitable, but we must make sure that our businesses are sustained. Sustained businesses must be protected. And therefore, in the digital alliance, we must navigate. This is why we need to look differently, think differently, act differently. We must monitor. We must maintain our accountability to our stakeholders. We must be very robust. We must be responsive. All the businesses must take a holistic approach. We look at the opportunities, and of course, through digitalization, I'm sure in Thailand, you are facing this. We now have more compliance needs. The governments are very worried about digital security. And therefore, we must be conscious of the compliance needs. This means we have to monitor, we have to identify, we have to respond. We have to take risks, but the risk must be calculated. We must look at the digitalization operations. As the chair mentioned, we must anticipate, assess, adapt, and alleviate the threat exposures. And therefore, let me share with you the digital resilience. It means corporates achieve objectives. We must create a differential advantage. We must be different from our competitors. We must stand out in the digital market. We cannot be copycats. We must be different. We must be unique. This is what means as a principle. We must embed resilience in every digital. We must be proactive. We must look at the online and offline systems The offline systems are called legacy systems. We must make sure it is monitored and tested. These principles are very important, and all of us must adopt a risk-based thinking. We must evaluate on the digital ecosystem. Most important, we must train our employees on the importance of resilience. And I think U Tin Xan Chon, the Device Business University, is doing its best to train personnel in resilience in the digital ecosystem. I'm sure at DPU they are doing it too. But how do we measure the success of digital resilience? I would like to share with you critical success factors, CSFs, shorter response time, change in mindset, that companies are prepared. That is how we measure success in the digital world, in the terms of digital reliance. We must have teams which are skilled. We must make sure that the solutions that we have are tested and exercised adequately. This means digital reliance, resilience also means challenges. We now find that many companies use a box approach, in the box, and that it is done. It is not enough to check in the box. We don't have any measures to look at the capabilities. We use the data to support our decision. And therefore, we do not have enough capability to respond. We take a very short-sighted approach. This is something I would like to emphasize. As the vice mentioned, we must a strategic outlook towards moving away from a short-sighted approach, a more long-term view of digital reliance, and we have to look into this. Let me end here. I talked about the digital and digital reliance, and I hand over the forum to the moderator during the intermission. I'm sure the involved co-hosts will be saying something about their work. Thank you very much for your attention and look forward to meeting you again in the second part of the forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tet. So, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to have a short break for 15 minutes. During this break, we would like to introduce the co-host organizations, starting from DBU, DPU, and IBIRD. And before we move to the intermission, I would just like to remind the audience that if you have any questions or comments regarding Professor Tet's lecture, please feel free to put them into the chat, and then we can put them forward to the professor during the Q&A session. Okay. The videos from the co-host organization.
My warm regards to Honorable Professor Dr. Onthong. My warm regards to Honorable Professor Dr. Onthong Tet, members of the IB. My warm regards to Honorable Professor Dr. Onthong Tet, members of the IBERD, and the members of the Dr. Pandey University. Thank you to IBRD and TPU for collaborating and organizing the CLMVT Business Economic Webinar Forums on Business Special Capacity Strengthening. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak on behalf of the Device Business University. My name is Tin San Chor. I am the chairman of Device Business University. Device Business University was given the permission by the Myanmar Investment Commission to carry out higher education services on 17 July 2020. The university had partnered with Durikit Pandit University, one of the first and best private university in Thailand, and planned to organize bachelor and master degree programs in Yangon and Manali in 2021. Unfortunately, our plan to organize the programs had to be postponed because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and political changes happening in Myanmar. However, we understand the importance of having higher education for self-development and development of the Myanmar. So we continue to partner with the Durikit Pandit University and support our students to travel to Thailand and obtain the BBA and MBA degree in Thailand. We are providing the complete application and travel assistance to our potential students who wants to travel to Thailand and study at DPU facility through our partner, Kakadu Study Abroad Facebook page. Interested students can get necessary information through Kakadu Study Abroad Facebook page. Similarly, we will continue to collaborate with the DPU and IBERD and organize online seminars like this one to provide business relevant knowledge through expert panel and the speakers. We are fortunate today to have the Professor Dr. Aung Thun That, who have provided us first and second CLMVT Economy Business webinar forums on the special capacity strengthening in the topic Marketing 5.0. We hope you all will gain valuable knowledge and information from the first part, Marketing 5.0, Technology for the Humanity, organized today, September 11, and the second part, Marketing 5.0, Technology for Digital Business, organized on September 18. I request all the viewers watching today's to share this information with your network and send us feedback on the usefulness on the seminar and the kinds of topics you would like to hear from the Professor Dr. Aung Thun That in the future. We'll organize these seminars regularly on a monthly basis and also in the Myanmar language if there is enough interest from the community on the specific topics. Once again, I thanks Honorable Professor Dr. Aung Thun That for giving your time and sharing your knowledge of Marketing 5.0. IBERD and Durikit Pandit University for organizing CLMVT Economic Business Economy Webinar Forums on the Special Capacity Strengthening. Hub Myanmar Limited for supporting the event and promoting it. Kakadu Study Abroad for supporting the students do study BBA and MBA at Durikit Pandit University in Bangkok. So thank you once again to everyone and wish you all safety and good health during this difficult COVID pandemic. Thank you very much.
The Thai economy is facing uncertainties and challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic has speeded up digital transformation in all aspects. To be resilient and to move forward to the post-pandemic, we need synergy and collaboration in our country, ASEAN, and beyond. To be competitive, we need initiatives, innovation, human capital, and a new economic, social, and environmental landscape. Thailand's strengths and competitive edge are numerous. There are more to be enhanced while collaborating with other countries. We also have to be competitive. Some ASEAN countries have competitiveness in some areas. We have our own competitiveness that can be enhanced. Today is the world of the new generation. However, just as important is the aging society with the growing concern. We have to manufacture products to serve all these needs, both domestically and internationally. The market opportunities are plentiful. Notably, one of the key solutions to all these is the knowledge enhancement, together with research and development, or R&D. We need to invest in knowledge in science and R&D towards sustainability. The Institute of Business Economics Research and Development, or IBERD, set up as an independent organization with a non-profit purpose, aims at being the center of knowledge, insights, thoughts, practical ideas, and innovation. All these valuable ideas gained from the eminent persons with high experiences can be turned into competitive advantage, business models, investment opportunities, and others, which are instrumental to SME, startup, large enterprises, up to the national level for sustainable growth. The mission of IBERD is to conduct policy research on trade and economic development, organize conferences and seminars both offline and online, provide business advisory services, and foster capacity building for business enterprises, SME, and startup. IBERD has continuously focused on empowering the businesses, forging alliance with business partners, and the matters that can have exponential effects to the market, the community, the public, and the country as a whole, leading towards state-of-the-art technology, competitiveness, sustainable economic growth, as well as the well-being of the people in the well-balanced ecosystem, both locally and globally.
Would it be wonderful if we could integrate leading innovation along with the learning in the business world? From an old square classroom to one with no borders. Get ready for a digital transformational era. When successful decisions and marketing strategies require a big data to fully become a successful marketer in online business world. Leave behind all the old principles to becoming a digital economy. To become valuable e-commerce providers with infinite imagination. With new innovation, there is no such thing as impossible, only possible. Dare to try, dare to do, and be open-minded to new things. Learning and adapting. Comprehend more to achieve more. Because a digital world is a world that data is unified. The thought of a large world will then shrink to the size of your palm. Open up to new perspectives, make your business unbeatable, and leave others in the dust. Ignite your creativity. Erase the impossibility. Move towards the digital era with the confidence, because for us, nothing is impossible. And we can make every possibility happen with the learning in digital era. Move forward together with us at SIBA, College of Innovative Business and Accountancy, Turakit Bandit University, Startup University.
Welcome back, everybody. It is time to begin session 2 of the special lecture. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone once again that if you have any questions or comments regarding the contents of today's webinar, please feel free to type them in the chat box, and we'll put them forward to Professor Tet during the Q&A session. Without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Tet to continue his presentation.
Thank you very much. Now, you have to change, you have to enable me to share the screen, please. The host.
Yes, we'll do that now. Yep.
It's still not there yet?
Yes, we click on share screen. Just 1 second. Sorry.
No, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay, I think you should be able to share it now.
Let me. Thank you very much and welcome back. And I think during the intermission, we learned from the organizers, both iBird, TPU, and you. Second part, we have to start again. Let me. So I think it will work now.
Yes, we are able to see the slides now.
Okay, let me. So in part 2, I'll be discussing on 3 issues because the title of my presentation is Building Resilience Corporations in the Digital World. In part 1, I dealt with digital world and digital resilience. Now I will go into the practical issues of what do we by resilience corporation and what do we mean by a resilience model and what do we mean by a resilient mindset. So these will be the 3 areas that I hope I could cover in this period. So can you see me? Can all of you see me? The slides? Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can see the slides, Professor.
Okay. So the first part will be corporations. We always talk about resilience, but what does it mean in real terms, in practical terms? I think this will be very useful for the business community, for the students of business, for DPU, DBU, and even IBERT. And I would like to also welcome Bangkok Thonburi University, Dr. Krista Pon. I'm sure our students will also benefit from what do we mean by a resilient corporations. Resilience is based on compassion. I would like to add the human element. It is a compassion for ourselves as well as compassion for others. Oftentimes, we tend to forget the moral values of being in business. It is not just making money. We must have compassion for others, but please do not forget passion for ourselves too. Compassion is important for both ourselves and for others. And therefore, I would like to encourage the CEOs, the chief executive officers, to act in advance, the presidents of the board. You must plan new business model. As Mr. Chotani Sakon mentioned, we need to have new business model. We must have supply chain operations. Nowadays, even in Myanmar, we are looking at remote work capabilities. Working from home is now very common. 60% of the people will now work from home. So this and recognize that people working from home, how do we manage them? That will be very important. The question is, resilient corporations must plan ahead. We must help our employees to redeploy for different roles. They are no longer in the business as usual. They must be able to use advanced technologies. And therefore, I welcome SIBA from DPU because they are teaching the young advanced technologies to create new market opportunities. That the young taught at DPU, and I'm sure in BTU too, they would have new opportunities in the market based on the skills. And I'm sure Device Business University is also planning along those lines. Resilient corporations must have new products and services. We must be creative, we must be innovative. And we must give our employees flexible work. It is no longer about 9-to-5 jobs. In my country, many companies are still thinking of 9-to-5. 9-to-5 doesn't mean anything today. Working today means anytime, anywhere, anyhow. We must adopt the flexible work options. So in my first part, I would like to suggest 5 strategies which businesses must look into to be resilient. Only 5, not many. Please focus on the 5 to make yourself resilient in the digital world. First, be prepared. Thailand is a Buddhist country. Myanmar is a Buddhist country. We always believed in uncertainty. We always believed nothing is permanent. Everything is changing. And therefore, in your companies, you must build crisis response scenarios and playbooks. You must look at the cash reserve. In Myanmar, we have cash flow problems in the banks. We have to look at the supply chain and revenue streams. We must also invest. This is where digitalization comes in. How do we equip the workers working from home that they can using their mobile devices? This would be the things that we have to prepare ourselves. The second strategy, we must be very agile. I'm organizing a seminar with Dubai Business University on strategic agility. How do we make sure that we need to have speed? We are comfortable with ambiguity. Speed is important, not size. In the business schools in Thailand, I'm sure in BTU or DBU, you are taught size is important. Nowadays, it is no longer size, it is speed. You must have flexibility to prepare for your future. Resilient companies must reskill. This is where business universities like Bangkok Thonburi University, DPU, DBU, you must be able to redeploy, reskill workforce. You must give flexible work options. Let us make sure, because in the digital world, you have to use advanced technologies, cloud computing. In Myanmar, we are using it. I'm sure in Thailand, you're doing it, cloud computing. In some companies, we're using artificial intelligence. We're looking at blockchain. We're looking at Internet of Things. I'm sure in Thailand, you are so advanced. But in Vietnam, in Cambodia, in Laos, you're doing the same. So resilient corporations must be able to adopt advanced technology. You must not have the fear of technology. A technology is a friend, not a foe. Don't treat this as an enemy. Embrace technology if you want to be resilient. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, we must build security, transparency in supply chain. This is the major problem we find after the aftermath of the COVID-19. We must be able to increase our revenue and reduce costs. This is the goal of every resilient corporation, to look at revenue and to look at costs. Here is something important. We cannot do it alone. We must have collaborative systems. We must share. We must be free and easily share information and perspective. We must assess situations together to make good decisions. And we must make sure that we incorporate information throughout, not only from senior management, even from the shop floor, even from the teller who can tell us what is really happening. So we must incorporate inputs and communication. I would like to encourage the CEOs, the chief executive officers. You please do not have barriers to communication. Please be prepared to the expected. Please improve your flow of communication. CEOs must listen to the shop floor. CEOs must listen to the employees because they know what is really happening on the ground. And therefore, collaboration is vital. Collaboration with partners, with customers, with peers. Many of your workers are now going remote permanently. So what we need today in the digital world is seamless collaboration. They are 24/7. How do we work together on a collaborative basis? This is something I always teach in Myanmar, which is trust. We must build trust in normal times, but trust is tested during these very difficult times of COVID, of other crises. So let us be trustworthy. We must stand by our people and clients. Businesses must earn trust. We must build relationships with one another. That will be important. Please behave ethically. Please do not try to raise the prices because goods are getting scarce. We need to build trust with your employers, with your partners, with your customers, your peers. Trust will make you different. This will be the most valuable differentiator with your competitors. I would like to talk about, because we are talking about digital world, 3 kinds of trust: physical trust, emotional trust, and digital trust. This is something new. I hope all of you would recognize that physical trust, we must make sure, we must take care of our employees, customers. We must look at our employees' wellness, mental health. They are in stress, they are in fear, they have anxiety. This is emotional trust. But digital trust also means we need cybersecurity, we need to protect customer data, employee data. Cybercrime is rampant, and therefore there, I would like to encourage that you must lead with empathy in 3 areas: physical trust, emotional trust, and digital trust. You must also be responsible. You are not only doing business for money. I hope Thai business community, IBERT would promote this. IBERT would promote the concept, philosophy is business is not only the bottom line. It is not only profit. We must look at our communities. We must look at our societies. We cannot look only at the shareholders. We must have a stakeholder concept. This is the only way we can thrive in these very difficult times. CEOs, please balance stakeholder needs. Please be confident with your corporation, with your businesses, companies' adaptability to respond. Resilient. Let me share with Myanmar. I keep pushing this. In Thailand, I hope you will do this. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Please have an inclusive environment. Please do not make the distinction or discriminate between religion, between culture, between lifestyle, because we are all human beings. We must accept diversity, equity, and inclusion. We must root out people inhibiting. Let us make sure that we have innovative thinking and agile acting. I think this is a slogan which I'm sure the business schools would adopt. We need the students, like in DPU or BTU, to have innovative thinking and agile acting. It is not enough to think innovatively. We must be agile in acting. Let me remind you, we must be authentic, true to yourself. Don't imitate. Don't copycat Silicon Valley. Don't copycat the Chinese companies. You are a Thai company. You are unique. You are a Thai university. You are unique. Be authentic. Value your employees. They are the most important assets. You must have the best computing system. And yet, at the end of the day, it is your employees. Let us make sure that ESG issue. I teach this in my university. Environment, social, and governance. We must exercise good corporate governance. I hope IBERT can look into promoting good corporate governance in CLMBT countries. Good corporate governance, BOD committees. How do we help communities? This is resilient companies. We must be prepared. We must be adaptable. We must collaborate, trustworthy. We must be more resilient with these 5 strategies that I mentioned. So I want to combine the resilient corporation, the 5 strategies with the digital resilience and the digital world. Therefore, let us make sure that you create a culture and company. All companies have culture. iBird has culture. DBU has culture. DPU has culture. Bangkok Thonburi University has culture. How do we build culture for a digital world? It's not enough in terms of the systems on the physical side. We must look at the cultural side. And therefore, I turn to this second approach. How do we be resilient? How do companies be resilient in the digital world? What is the model that we should approach? And therefore, I take the ICOR, but let me remind you, failure is an important part of your growth and developing resilience. I would encourage the professors in the universities to encourage the students not to be afraid of failure, not to be afraid of making mistakes. I would encourage the CEOs of the companies. Don't have a blame culture. Don't blame people. There's no such thing as failures or mistakes. There's only growth and development. And therefore, the model is, this is a model that I'll be sharing very briefly. It is a 3-dimensional model. It has 3 dimensions, 9 strategies, and 16 behaviors. Let me repeat myself. It is 3 dimensions, 9 strategies, 3 strategies, and then we have 16 resilient behaviors. I'm sure if you can take away, share it among your companies, share it among your students, share it among your staff, you will have a more resilient corporations. The 3 dimensions are, the first is leadership and strategy. If you want to live, if you want to survive, if you want to succeed in the digital world, you must have leadership, you must have strategies. You must also have proper culture in the digital world. And finally, you must be able to prepare the risks that arises out of the digital world. And therefore, this dimension is leadership. And I do hope CEO, chairman of the BODs, you must exercise, professors in departments, you must exercise leadership and strategy. Corporate must demonstrate leadership. You must have intention strategies. You must implement strategies intentionally. And therefore, it means these strategies, 3 shared vision. I would like to encourage all companies, CEOs, to have a shared vision. It is not enough only the chairman to know what is the vision of the company. It is important for even the driver or the security to know what is the vision. It must be a shared vision. You must understand the context and you must have effective. Here, let me share with you what I mean effective. Empowered leaders, trusted leaders, respected leaders, and distributed leadership. Leadership is not only in one person. Leadership is everywhere in your corporation. Leadership can be in the coffee girl. Leadership in this, it must be distributed. This is the strategy. The second one is culture and behavior. You must promote, you must encourage and ensure a healthy culture, a positive culture in your company, in your university, in your businesses, which then means you have to have core values. You have to be integrity. You have to know what is right and what is wrong. You have to always support health and welfare of your employees. you foster creativity. When I watched the video of DPU, it was very interesting, very exciting, because Dr. Siridich and his team is creating and fostering creativity. Let us make sure we empower people to communicate effectively. Be ready to share information. Don't keep it to yourself. Make sure everyone has the relevant information. Learn from experience and continually improve. We are not perfect. We can always improve. We have to have a culture of continual improvement. Finally, risk. Risk is always there. COVID was never expected. We have to be prepared for the unexpected. And therefore, it's very important for these. You have to get available resources. You have to adapt. You have to manage the risks. And finally, you have to manage change. You have to anticipate, as the Vice Chair mentioned. You have to plan and you have to respond. Now, the 16 dimensions. Adaptive, flexible. You must be aware of the situation. I'm sure in business schools, in Bangkok, Thonburi University or DP, you are taught SWOT analysis. You do PESTLE analysis. You are aware of the situation. You have collaboration commitment. You have to be creative. You have to be diverse, inclusive. We also have integrated solutions. This is very important. We have to be prepared. We have to be redundant. You have to have more than one system. Redundant. Just do not have one system. Have two redundant systems. Don't force slides. You have to be reflective. I would like reflective. To think back, analyze what works, what does not work. Please have respect, responsibility for all of us. Now, I turn to the last part of my presentation. I like this because I'm fond of psychology. I look at mindset, which is important, how people think. And therefore, let me share with you, even for the students and business people, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. I would like to request everyone listening, everyone joining in this webinar, please have the courage to continue. Success today, but tomorrow you must have failure. Even if you have failure, don't mean you are dead. It is not fatal. You need to have the courage to continue. Please share this message because I feel this is very important, that all of us must have the courage to continue. We are depressed. We are stressed. In Myanmar, we are stressed. I'm sure in Thailand, in Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, you are stressed too. But please reflect and think that courage to continue counts. And therefore, resilient. I will now end with 7 approaches to strengthen your mindset. I'm sure you know this already, but I just want to remind you to think of your thoughts, your behavior, your actions at the individual level or even at the company level. It is not just for each person, it is for the company too. In Myanmar, we have 3 things. I'm sure you have in Thailand too. Have the right thoughts. If you have the right thoughts, it will go to right words. If you have the right words, it will go to the right action. So thoughts comes first, second is words, and third is action. And therefore, let me share with you, stay strong. I would like to encourage everyone. I know we are stressed, we have fear, anxiety. Accept things as they are. We cannot change it. Just accept. Try to overcome the challenge with a positive mindset. Be adaptable. Change your market. Change your product. Change your service. I think the universities are facing this. I'm sure Bangkok Thonburi University, I'm sure DPU, DBU, you're trying to change the way you teach. And therefore, after saying so, get knocked down, but get up again. Feel it now. And to be tenacious, never quit. Bounce back like pit lying down. Persistence, perseverance. You keep going until you succeed. Never give up. That is important. The third message, continuous growth. This is why I thank the professors who are teaching the students. Life is not easier or forgiving. Life is difficult. The day you are born, it's difficult. Every negative, you go stronger. Facing difficulties is inevitable, but learning from them is optional. Therefore, without hardship, resilience cannot be. Without practice, it can grow. Leapfrog competition, learning and evolving. Plan for the future. Look for, don't be paralyzed by pessimism. Don't lose sight of the long-term goals. Therefore, adapt plans, prepare for all situations. Planning and preparation is important. Number 5, I like this. Please be kind to one another. Please be caring. Please have selfishness. Please be not be selfish. Selfishness. Discover only and be supportive and empathetic. This is why I would like to encourage IBERT. I would like to thank IBERT because they have created a support network. Utezan mentioned about network. Let us support network, create one. Let us be in touch with one another, professional, personal, caring, and let us build lasting relationship between the universities, between the countries, between the communities, between the students. Finally, remember, this too shall pass. We are in the midst of crisis, but someday, hopefully soon, everything will be past. Remain positive, build resilience, control what you can, manage what you cannot. Do what you can, but try to minimize what you cannot. And therefore, I've dealt with part 1 and 2. Let me share with you my final quotes. When you learn to become resilient, we look at broad human experience. Resilience means to be a human being. As human beings, we are resilient. As individuals, we have resilience. Use the resilience to build your organizations with your companies, corporations. And because we have a question and answer period, I would like to suggest before the moderator looks at the session, in the question and answer session, let me remind you, the question is important than the question is more important than the answers. Let us never forget this. I thank you for your attention, and I give the floor to the moderator, Mr. Liam Redhead. Thank you very much for your attention. You're mute. You are mute. You are mute.
Okay,
Okay, am I
Okay.
unmuted now?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right. So thank you very much, Professor Tate, for your insightful and comprehensive content related to advancing CLMVT in the digital era. From our honorable speaker today, Professor Dr. Ong Tung Tate. Now it is time for the Q&A session. I believe some of the audience may want to ask some questions or make comments on what we have heard today. Please feel free to raise up some questions or comments using the chat function on Zoom. We do have some questions already here. Maybe we could go through a couple of these first while we're waiting for some more questions to come in. So the question I have here, Professor, is how will the incorporation of advanced technology such as robotics, autonomous vehicles, and AI affect the future of CLMVT citizens who are unskilled?
That's an important question. Countries are in the cups in the midst of change. There's always the fear factor involved with advanced technology, involved with artificial intelligence, involved with robotics. I think this is very common and this is very understandable. But let me assure you that in spite of all advances of technology, the human element can never be replaced. The question then becomes the human-machine interface. How do we use the machines and technology to our advantage? The beauty of the advanced technology is human beings are no longer required to do repetitive work. Human beings are now able to focus on the creativity, on the innovation, which machines, in spite of the development, can never replace. So I would like to reassure everyone that please embrace technology. The question then, I think, is very important for universities like, Bangkok Thongbury University, TPU, DBU, to skill the students of today so that they can go bravely into the workplace of tomorrow. So the challenge for all of us in the universities, in the schools, in the corporations, is to ensure that the workers, because my worry, and I think this is the worry behind the question, that there is an anxiety and fear that with advanced technology, we would be jobless. I think this is not realistic. We can upskill, we can reskill, we can cross-skill, and to ensure that our workers are not left behind. I think it is the responsibility of the governments, it's a responsibility of the universities, it's a responsibility of the business corporations to ensure that the workers, the present workers and the future workers are ready. The World Economic Forum says, we still would have jobs which are not invented yet. We don't know what new jobs will be coming up in 20 years' time. So the question is, we have to change the way we train and teach students. We cannot just teach them content. We must teach them how to learn. Learning and thinking should be the focus of the attention toward, rather than repetitive work, repetitive training. So I think the universities also would have to rethink, reimagine, and reshape the future of training. The same thing with corporations too. Because I don't know in Thailand, I'm sure it is true in other countries. In Myanmar, when I encourage through U Tin Saen Jaw device training for businesses to invest in training, they are not willing to do this. They are saying if they get the skills, they might go to other companies. They would leave our company. But it is okay, because by leaving to another company, they are taking away your culture. So it is not a loss, but a gain. So again, we have to rethink how we look at attrition of the workers. But I thank the questionnaire, because there's a widespread fear and anxiety out there, not only in CLMV countries, in advanced US countries, in the UK, in Europe, they are equally scared. The low-skilled workers, the low-educated workers are worried of loss of jobs. So the question then becomes that humans can never be replaced by machines. There will always be a role for humans. There will always be now what is called human-machine interface. Humans and machines work together. I hope this will address the fears that is included in the questionnaire. Let us not be afraid of. Let us have the confidence to move forward. Very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. Very comprehensive answer. And let's have a look at some other questions that we were sent through before. So, how will the digitalization of CLNVT play out in the short, medium, and long term?
Again, in CLMV countries, let me please excuse me, because we always think of short-term, long-term, medium-term. These are the standard traditional approaches. But with the current situation, the challenge is focus on the present. Focus on the present. It is the now which is important. Because we do not know what will happen. You see, I even teach myself strategic planning, strategic management. 5 years. I encourage companies to draw a perfect 5-year plan, divide it into annual plans, 5 annual plans. In reality, it has no sense anymore because everything is disruptive. So instead of drawing up plans, be flexible, be adaptive, be agile. And therefore, rather than talking about plans for the future, focus on the present. What can you do now? That, to me, is a change in the mindset. Because the traditional way of business operation is to have these long-term plans, which never works. No one looks at it. It gives business for professors like us, because we are consulted and we are giving advice. But the reality is not this. The reality is to be quick, to be nimble, to be flexible. This is why I would like to encourage. Forget about the plans. Forget about long-term, short-term, medium-term. The issue is today. Tomorrow has not come. Yesterday is gone. All we have is today. Do your best. That is the message I would like to give. If I may, Lian, because there was an interesting thing which is related to the earlier, the flexi hours. Business people are worried, especially the traditional people. They are worried that working from home would create decrease in productivity, would affect productivity and less cooperation. This is far from truth. If you manage the way you collaborate with remote workers, we are now more This is why I use the word seamless collaboration. In the past, we are collaborating 9 to 5. Now we can collaborate 24/7 through digital technology. So I would like all of you to encourage remote work, flexible work. Please get rid of the 9 to 5 mentality. I don't know in IBERT. I don't know in DPU. Today, anytime, anywhere, anyhow, that is the digital world. You don't have to come to an office anymore. You don't have to build a big office building. You don't have to have a room. You can work in your kitchen table. You can work when you watch TV. So let us think differently, creatively in the way we are working, and forget about thinking that if you work from home, your productivity would be less. I would like to reassure the questionnaire, working from home would even increase. In the US, in big companies, 60% are now working permanently from home. This is the reality. And CLMV countries, we must adopt that attitude. Rather than thinking back, we'll come back, we'll go to the canteens, we'll have lunch together, we'll have dinner together. Forget this. This is no, we can have remote lunch, we can have remote dinner, we can have remote cocktails. All we do is work remotely, work virtually. That is the thing that we have to focus on. Thank you very much, Ian.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, I believe we have time for one more question.
Please.
Okay, so how about this one? So given the growth in the digital area, given the advancements, how can governments and companies position themselves to promote inclusive growth?
I think that it is not, because the way the question is phrased means there are tensions. There are tensions between technology and inclusiveness. I think it is not, there's no tension. If there are tensions, it must be positive tensions. Through technology, inclusiveness would increase. Because everyone is connected now. You know, in the past, I keep saying in my countries, we have meetings of only senior management. Why should we have meetings only of senior management? Why cannot have meetings with everyone in the company? Why should we have only people only belonging to the board of directors? What is this attitude? This attitude is exclusiveness. That we are high management, we are senior management. We don't deal with middle management or lower. Why do we have in universities only meetings with professors only? The question is, we have to change our mindset to an inclusive society, that everyone is part. We should not exclude anyone because of age, because of experience, because of wealth. So technology is a real game changer. Technology enables us now to be inclusive. With technology, with the platforms we have in corporations, even in Myanmar, we have platforms now where learning is available to everyone. I'm doing a leadership development platform whereby that platform is accessible not only to the BOD, but even to the driver or the security guard. Why should we not have open access to knowledge? Why should it be restricted to people who are senior? We have to get rid of this senior junior issue. Everyone is inclusive. The old is equally respected. The young must also be respected. The female must give equal chance. Even people with different sexual orientation. They are human beings. Religion is no longer a divisive issue. So I do hope that the questionnaire, I thank the questionnaire because this means that technology would help us develop a more inclusive society, a more inclusive corporation business, a more inclusive universities. We now have open source courses. Anyone can enroll to MIT or Harvard through the open source. These are things of the future. You don't have to be registered. Let us hope through this CLMVT webinars organized by IBERT, we have a change of mindset. We move away from us and them. Us and them means exclusive. It is we, not you and I. Let us develop a we mentality in this digital world and digital age. Thank you very much, Mr. Lien.
Okay, thank you very much again, Professor Tet. So now we will move on to the concluding session. Okay. So the digital world has been driven and transformed by technology. Businesses should take advantage of commercial opportunity and prepare for digital disruption. Businesses can adapt to disruptions while maintaining continuous business operations. In the meantime, the digital world has become more comfortable in adopting digital technologies to enhance current business. Accordingly, businesses should aim to seize opportunities offered by the digital world and create value from digital technologies for future advantages. The digital technology and business models have made a huge impact on existing products and services. The resilient corporations need to increase the use of advanced technologies to create new market opportunities and develop new products and services. Last but not least, a resilient mindset is required to learn and develop cooperation in order to bolster preparedness and manage risks in the digital world. Before moving on to the final remarks, I would like to share some information on an upcoming program. At the next program, we plan to organize an annual business economics conference on the strengths of CLMVT in the new economy. This conference is planned to be held on January 2022. Various stakeholders will join hands with IBERT to celebrate the 12th anniversary of its establishment. The perspectives of both policy and business levels will be shared during the conference. Those interested can follow via the IBERT website and various channels of communication. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the forum today has come to an end. I, on behalf of IBERT, would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to DBU and DPU for your cordial partnership and endless support you have extended us. My appreciation also goes to Mr. Din Zadjor, who delivered the welcome remarks, and Mr. Adun Choti Nisakon, Vice Chairman of IBERT, who delivered the keynote address, and of course, Professor Dr. Ong Phuong Tet, our honorable speaker, who has made a significant contribution to the forum today. I would like to express my sincere thanks once again to all of you who joined the webinar today. We look forward to seeing you again in the next forum in the coming months. Thank you all very much, and goodbye.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye. Okay, let's keep in touch. Thank you. Thank you.